misunderstand it, but that will come in the next verse. But this verse those are the main things that we are going to kind of, we studied, and we are going to see now Swamiji's explanation. We'll read this now. Who wants to read? Meena ji, you want to read?
The wise sage, who by means of meditation on the inner self recognizes the ancient, who is difficult to be seen, who is unfathomable, and concealed, who is hidden in the cave of the heart, who dwells in the abyss, is lost in the intelligence, and seated amidst miserable surroundings indeed, renounces joy and sorrow. Having rejected the state of Hiranyagarbha, upon what should a true seeker's heart be fixed? Is there anything subtler to be realized, whereby a greater perfection can be achieved? These questions naturally rise up in the mind of any student who is pursuing a study of Kathoupanishad. And with the teacher's answers to these questions starts the real Upanishad. With this stanza starts the entire discussion of the theory and the technique of self-perfection.
So that's what, as we mentioned, is starting now.
Lord Death in this statement clearly indicated that there is an eternal truth far subtler than the state of total mind, and that a seeker can discover it and realize it as this I am. I am aham asmi, in an intimate personal experience. The various descriptive phrases used in this stanza indicate this truth factor, which is the real essence and the real entity behind the I sense of ahankara, ego, in each embodied soul.
Okay, so here there are many different things in this. This I am, or aham brahmasmi, but then they have another sentence, I am aham asmi, all that. So basically जो हमारा जो ego है ना, it is just a false thing, पर उसके पीछे जो real चीज है वो है भगवान. And then the way I was thinking about this is, remember that analogy of rope and snake is there, right? हमको snake, everybody knows that analogy, I hope, right? एक रस्सी पड़ी हुई है ना, मेरे को snake दिखाई दे रही है because it's dark. हमको कहाँ snake दिखाई देता है? जहाँ रस्सी होगी वहीं दिखेगा ना. कोई अगर यहाँ पर रस्सी है तो इधर तो नहीं दिखेगा मुझे snake. Think about it. So जहाँ पर ये reality है ना, वहीं पर ego आता है. It's not coming anywhere else. We don't think about this, but this is a very important thing. That ego जहाँ भी है उसके पीछे ही reality है. But हम लोग ego में पड़े रहते हैं. But if you drop that ego, then that reality shines. So that's why it is ego कहाँ पे होता है? हमारे अंदर ही है ना कहीं. False notion in my heart, in my mind, you can say. उसके पीछे का power is the reality.
Well, ego is the combination of the consciousness plus the vasanas that cover the veil. So
true, you can get it whichever way you want. That's okay. Because what you are explaining is how does the ego rise up? That's what you are explaining, the process. That, like, basically, the Swamis explain, you take two things and it's called an unholy marriage. That's what Swamis call it.
That is it, exactly.
Unholy marriage.
Yes.
Two things which cannot marry, and
right.
What did I say? It's not a compatible thing, but it happened, and now the ego has come out.
Because it's the infinite and the finite getting together. That's what the ego is, between the connection between the two.
Exactly. And it's just a feeling. Yeah. It's not even real. It's a feeling.
Yeah. But so it is, ego is also a natural part, you can say then, because
you can call it, because it's like जैसे कि पानी और आग मिलेगा तो धुआं निकलेगा, राइट? ऐसा समझ लो आप। जब दोनों चीजें आती है तो नेचुरली ईगो बाहर निकलता है। ट्रू, ट्रू।
हाँ, लेकिन पहले ईगो है, and then you can say that right behind the ego is God. So, for example, जैसे आपने बोला ना कि स्नेक तो वही दिख रहा है आपको जहाँ रोप है, तो अगर रोप नहीं होती तो आपको स्नेक नहीं दिखाई देता। तो likewise, that ego is actually a curtain behind which God is seated. So then, basically, we have to remove that curtain.
That's why, what do they say in the spirituality?
हाँ,
That's what
हाँ,
they
वो घूंघट के पट खोल तुझे पिया मिलेंगे. That's right.
That's it. And then that's why when ego को ना small I से बोलते हैं और उसको capital I बना दिया, तो फिर वो और self में भी वही है. When I do with the small self, me, the small one, I'm looking down like this, and the Swamiji was saying that the example in the bucket, the sun is shining up, right? And I have 100 buckets. And I'm looking at the bucket, oh, there are 100 suns. So Swamiji says, ऐसा है ना, अभी ऐसा कर दो. तो bucket सब चले गई, तो sun दिख रहा है एक. So he said, I thought that's such an amazing analogy. He said, if we live in this ego, we are constantly like this, me, mine, mine. You expand and ego is gone. I tell you, the Swamis are just amazing, Because last time they were showed us of Swamiji's video of Bhagavad Gita, that's what he did, the action, I thought it was. I think we got a good explanation of ego over here.
Just one question here.
Answer.
Does it all finally relate to discriminative power?
True, because जब discriminative power होएगा ना उससे ego कम होता जाता है.
Right.
Ego क्या है ना कि when I don't have the discriminative power, तो I think कि मैं ही हूँ जी दुनिया में, मेरे से बड़ा तो कोई है ही नहीं.
I mean that immediately kills the ego once you have.
Yes, and then you realize, my God, by myself I'm nothing, And when the baby has come, you realize how much baby cannot do anything, and everybody else around has to do everything. तो हम तो चल भी नहीं सकते, कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते, So
it could be I'm nothing or I'm everything.
True. Whichever. So they say that I'm everything ना. जैसे danger क्या है? मीना जी अगर शुरू में बोलना शुरू किया ना, तो जी मैं तो भगवान हूँ.
प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी.
फिर नया प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा. तो it's better to go मैं कुछ भी नहीं हूँ. फिर धीरे धीरे वो वहाँ तक पहुँचाओगे.
Puranam, ancient. The truth principle that controls and directs the matter envelopments constituted by the body, mind and intellect and so on is indeed ancient because it in its essence has never been born. Just as the space in a part and the all-pervading space is one and the same, irrespective of the part's existence or destruction, so too the pure consciousness or the light of wisdom as such has neither been ever born nor will it ever know any decay or death. Thus the unborn, undecaying, deathless Atman can only be indicated by the word ancient.
So Swamiji is giving a very scientific explanation that ancient is सबसे पुराना क्या चीज हो सकती है? It's something which is unborn, undecaying, deathless, and that's what it is. So the true meaning of ancient is that actually. But हम लोग जो संसार में use करते हैं तो वो time bound ancient है. That's all it is. This particular ancient is beyond time. And then the best analogy is ocean and the waves. Waves rise and die, but ocean is always remains. In relative sense, that is so for the waves, ocean is Purana.
Go on. Durdarshan, darshanam, hard to see. Truth being thus the presiding intelligence that lends its life to the dead and inert coatings of matter which seemingly envelops it, it is difficult for the eye to see it. The eye, being an instrument, can only see objects other than itself. It can never hope to see itself. A telescope cannot be used for viewing the very eye of the observer himself. In this sense, the controller and director of the I, the Atman, cannot be seen by the I. It is to be noted here carefully that in negating the capacity of the eyes to see truth, the intention of the Shruti is to negate the capacity of all other sense organs, such as the mind and intellect, to visualize, feel, or know the subtle truth as an object.
So here I already explained to you in detail about it, that it is beyond the senses. And that's why, you start with Shravanam, you do use one sense to hear, but the experience in the end is you become that. That only God can recognize God, basically. That's what he's telling. So you have to become that, and the whole process is it. And then the other example he gave is such a fantastic one too. Telescope के पीछे से हम लोग देखते हैं, we can never look at our own eye through the telescope. That's also a great example. And then one very simple example, which is like just gives a point. It's not a perfect example, but you will get the gist of it. Is saying that trying to see God with our instrument is trying to take a hairpin and trying to change the tire. I thought that was a great analogy. एक छोटी सी पिन लेके तुम कोशिश कर रहे हो मैं टायर चेंज करूं. It's not gonna happen. So it's a useless exercise.
In short, truth realization or Ishvara darshan is not earned through the same process as those by which we see an object, feel an emotion, or know an idea. Truth can only be subjectively experienced as the experiencer's own self.
So here is a very simple also. Nobody can say, "But ये God है," बल्कि ऐसे सामने एक object रख दिया. It's not gonna happen. So that's what he's saying. Subjectively experience, and that's why that Adhyatma Yoga word is here. Your own meditation, it can be realized.
That's why I guess the books, the Upanishads, the gurus can only give you a direction. And you have to realize it.
And they call it, what you are saying, Meenaji, is indicative definition, they call it. It's indicating towards it.
Yes.
So that's why that you have heard that GPS, guru positioning system. Yes. A lot of gurus say that now, that they tell position you, but यहाँ चलो, ऐसे करो. So जब हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, oh, I want to go on fast track, I want to go to God now. Hey, are you doing what they're telling you? That's where the buck stops. If you're not doing what they're telling, then you're not gonna get it. That's how it is.
Guhyam anupravishtam, lodged in the innermost recess. Certainly, to limit the all-pervading Atman as lodged in the innermost recess is to deny it. But Lord Death is no blasphemer, and Shruti is not the work of, I don't know what.
Inner soul, I was like, I didn't know what this was, so I looked up, and probably Meeraji knows. It's some political leader or US lawyer, some orator, some guy.
Work of
So he has a very high vocabulary. So basically, read this, I'll tell you the meaning of this.
By using this epithet, the Upanishad is not denying truth, any existence outside, but she means to indicate that it is the subtlest principle in us.
All he's saying is, because he said it's lodged into the innermost recess of it, also almost sounds like we cannot get to it. कोई चीज इतनी सटल कहाँ छुपी हुई है, मेरे को कैसे मिलेगी? So he's saying he's not a blasphemer, means he's not against religion or anything like that.
Yeah, blasphemer actually means somebody who does not believe in God.
Yeah.
So, or someone who speaks against God.
So he's saying that that's not, Yamraji is not actually saying it, and what you are saying, Meenaji, that's what he's telling you, indicating that it's the subtlest principle in us. And then he is going to explain subtlety is by all pervasiveness. That's what subtlety means. And then we had given long time ago example of ice cube, and then you melt it, it becomes water. It becomes more subtle than the ice cube because it's spreading into the cup, taking the shape, it's more subtle. Then you heat it up further, it becomes bhap, and then it goes into the atmosphere, and you cannot see it, but water is there in the be atmosphere. Whatever you boil, that water exists. You just cannot see it become pervasive. That's called pervasive. They're more subtle, but you cannot grasp with your senses.
Processed matter envelopment, the fleshy body is the outermost covering. Still within, as it were, is the prana, the vital air, and certainly we know that the prana is subtler than matter with form. Subtlety being measured always with reference to its greater pervasiveness. Vyapakatva.
Yeah, vyapakatvam.
Vyapaktam.
Yeah, vyapakatvam. So यहाँ पर he's talking about the 5 sheets that we have already done sometime in the class. The Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya. So first he talked about Annamaya Kosha, the grossest body, ये जो outer body है, it is made with food, that's like a food sheet. And Pranamaya is, we studied now in Bhagavad Gita what the pranas are. The vital air, Pranamaya Shakti. And Manomaya, the next comes mind. It is a more seat of emotion they're talking about. Then comes Vijnanamaya, our intellect. And then the causal body, Anandmaya, which we are in deep sleep is that Anandmaya. That's why we feel the bliss in there, because there is a factor of bliss. It's not as much as the other one, okay? It is closest to Bhagwan. That's why it is bliss.
Well, because we're ignorant of it. That's part of it in deep sleep.
So अभी उसकी थोड़ी मतलब थोड़ा सा सीप हुआ है वहाँ पे.
Yes.
तो pain अभी नहीं हुआ है. Pain चाहिए तो you have to go to what you're saying.
Right. Subtler than the prana is the mind. Since if the disturbances created by our prana can influence a larger area around us than the space occupied by our body, the thought disturbances which our minds can create are certainly much more. Thus, the mind is conceived of as residing in a deeper point within us than the area covered by the prana.
So he's just explaining to you that how it is more pervading.
Yeah.
बोलते ना जैसे कि शरीर तो बस इधर ही है, लेकिन प्राण शक्ति बोलते हैं कि शरीर के बाहर भी एक्सप्रेस होती है. And then the मन तो we already know, हमारा विचार can travel पता नहीं कहाँ. और intellect बोलते हैं कि जो चीज नहीं भी देखी है वो conceive कर सकता है intellect. That's why it goes even beyond what you see. So it's very obvious that our pervasiveness of this is explained. And now there is a factor which is more pervasive than even your intellect or Anandamaya Kosha. And when you look at the panch Mahabhuta, the subtlest is what? Akash. I don't know where it ends. I cannot grasp it by touch or something is there. I know it. This is beyond even the Akash. That's another way of understanding. More subtler, more pervasive.
I thought of that. I was thinking how the 5 in the space is the subtlest, and yet I said, because I'm conscious of it, therefore becomes a part of it, therefore consciousness is more pervasive than the space itself.
True.
So,
there are many different ways to approach it. One is what you are saying.
So, the Atman or the truth, the source of all life in us, the spark of the divine touch that vitalizes, controls, and directs all the above mentioned 5 sheets, constituted merely of the inner matter, must necessarily be the subtlest of the subtle, hence occupying the holy of the holies in us. It is in this sense that the Shruti says here that the truth or Atman resides in the innermost recess. This is equivalent to saying that water resides in ice and steam lies in the core of the water.
This is just an explanation. The word जब उन्होंने कहा कि it is in the deepest recess, innermost recesses, because it is talking about it is subtler than that. That's why. So there are different ways of looking at Swamiji gave one way to understand. That's why they say that it's like Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasana. You have to do a lot of Mananam. So when they give you this one word, you have to meditate upon it a lot. And the more you do with different examples, and all that, then you will understand it better. It takes time. It's not very quick method.
ice cube is for the pervasiveness. Ice cube is so beautiful. It gives you the steps, all the steps in it. Go ahead, Dam. Should I go ahead or do you want to stop?
What's the time? No, we still have. Did I misunderstand the time?
No, it's 12:35.
Yeah, we can, because remember I gave extra time for this today.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, wait. You're
That's
right.
what I was thinking, yeah.
I got so involved in this, I forgot about that. You are absolutely right. I'm sorry.
You have grandma syndrome.
Yes, I do. I have lack of sleep too. I do. Perfect. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay. Any question on any whatever we did?
Yeah, not a question, but so what I think then is, according to your explanation, that the ice cube can be compared to the ego, where the ice cube probably feels individualistic. I'm this ice cube, I'm this one entity, and then when it melts, then it can see, oh, I'm just like water, all the other water, and then when it evaporates, it realizes its more subtle nature. So those perhaps, is that how it
Yeah.
could be?
That's 100%. Ego means it has a shape and form, and it can only do certain things, because ice cube you can just a block.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And it's separate from the other ice blocks, and so it can be easily thought as a separate entity, separate identity, that I am this ice block, I am this little cube. And then when it melts, then it realizes that probably, oh, the other ice cubes and I, now we can't tell the difference, we are all the same. And then when it evaporates, then it becomes even more subtle, and then that realization that, okay, there's something higher than that gross matter that we thought we were. Maybe, I mean.
No, it's perfect what you said. You know, the reason I'm saying, and I'm so tickled by the way you understood, because that's exactly how, you know, my Acharya from Houston, she has created these Bal Vihar books for students. And in the Bhagavad Gita book, that's how she explained exactly the way you said about ego to children. That when it is more crystallized, it's more, you know, rigid and all, and then you realize, hey, no, I'm water. Oh no, I'm that pop, you know. So exactly what you're saying. So you're on the right way of thinking.
Yeah, but when it becomes bhab, it actually merges with everything. So you're part of the whole thing, you know. That is a main thing.
Yeah, I mean that you're right, that you just part of everything. So then that's, if you can take this example further. And you know, like when Swamiji was explaining about ego, it's not like ego can be dropped suddenly, okay? उसको कम कर सकते हैं हम लोग. The journey is to make it less. और जैसे जैसे कम होता है ना ego, divinity starts expressing. And you know, we are in our teachers group right now. We are doing chapter 13, and there is an amazing verse in there. And when we get there, we will see how when the ego reduces, what kind of divinity expresses. You know, and then when the divinity expresses, a stage comes that you align with the phenomenal forces. And that's why these people who are very much like higher in spirituality, they phenomenal forces become their gulam. They can literally do anything, manifest anything. They don't do it, but they are capable of doing it. You know, this Satya Sai Baba and all used to manifest, you know, certain people do certain things for, that's how it is, but he has a control over those phenomenal forces. So I don't want to get too much into it, but we'll come to that. Because as the ego goes down, you are closer and closer you get to God.
But I thought the pervasiveness, because it said it's so much inner to it, they don't think it's little tiny thing inside you.
Right.
You know, and that's why they're explaining with this example of the water, they're explaining that how it's pervasiveness means the subtlest most thing, and
Yes.
the pervasiveness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, true.
so, it can go
Yeah.
both ways. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. Any other thing? Om Sarve Bhavantu santu niramaya sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit bhagavate Hari Om. No? Okay, Kamlaji, are you there? What you can share your We cannot hear you, Kamlaji. You are muted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, now you're.
I'm going to explain how the prana enters into body, how it goes around, and then how we can lift it up, reverse the direction of it, and reach to Hiranyagarbha state. So everybody knows what is medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is a part behind our neck. There is a dip there. So when the child is born, that the portion from where the pran energy enters, and it takes help of the breath. So pran, people get confused about breath and pran. They think it's the same thing, air and pran, but it's not same. So pran uses air as vehicle. So this is definitely that when we breathe in more air, we get more pran energy, because pran is entering from the back, breath is going from there, they merge, and that becomes a vehicle. So the pran gets stored in the brain, and from there it goes down to through all the major chakras. There are 7 chakras. So it enters into each chakra, stops there. Every chakra has its own nadi system. So there are 72,000 nadis. So the pran goes from Sushumna nadi, the central nadi, then it distributed to 2 nadis, Ida and Pingla. Ida is on the left hand side, Pingla is on the right hand side. Ida is feminine nadi and Pingla is masculine nadi. So Ida controls all the emotions and Pingla controls all the energy. So what happens, you have seen like people who are very energetic, for them it's very hard to sit down and meditate. The people who are very emotional, it means their Ida is more active. The people who are more energetic, their Pingla is more active. But we achieve God only when we can bring the balance between our Ida and Pingla. So the energy flows down, goes to all the systems and works there, and that's why all our senses are outwards, because the energy is flowing outwards. But when we want to achieve God, that time we sit down and meditate, and we try to lift up our energy from Mooladhara chakra, which is the last chakra. So 7 chakras, almost everybody should know that by now, I think. One is Sahasrara chakra, which is at the top of the head. One is Ajja chakra, which is in between the eyebrows. One is Vishuddhi chakra, which is behind the dip in our neck. They are all in our spine. Then the Anahat chakra or Hridaya chakra, which is behind our chest. Then Manipur chakra or solar plexus, we call it, it's behind our navel center. Then Swadhisthana chakra, which is behind our reproductive system. And the last one is Mooladhara chakra, which controls our excretory system. So the energy goes all the way down to excretory system, from where it flows down to legs and everything. So when we sit down and meditate, that's the main purpose of it, that we try to lift that energy up. And that energy goes up slowly and slowly. And once we reach to Sahasrara chakra, that's when we merge with God. But it's not that easy to lift it up. So pranayam, it helps to balance Ida and Pingala first, so that one is not moving too fast, one is not moving too slow. all the emotional problems, sleeplessness, depression, anxiety, all those are caused when Ida is underactive. And people go like, some people become so nervous and so full of energy, so anger, so much that is excess of Pingla activeness. So Ida and Pingla, they unite with Sushumna Nadi at Ajya Chakra, and then they unite at the bottom at Mooladhara Chakra. So when we start lifting, we close our eyes, we focus over here, we start lifting that energy up. And that's why we focus, we say, don't do anything else. You just focus on breath going in and out. If you don't know any other technique, just close your eyes and focus on your breath and be like observer, that you're observing the breath going in and out, in and out. You are not controlling it. So the energy start going up, opening up different chakras also. So you must have seen like the people who become yogi, they have knowledge of everything. They know about all the chakras because they reverse the energy flow, and each chakra has its own knowledge. They are gaining all that knowledge. And when it comes to Ajya chakra, and you stay there and you focus and your third eye opens, then one part opens. You have access to every material thing, every knowledge, every wisdom, you get access to it. So self-realized soul, whosoever, there were many self-realized soul who knew everything what's going on. And after become self-realized, then you raise it more up. Here Ida, Pingla and Sushumna stop working. Then you have control over your emotions, your energy, your ego, everything is controlled now. You close your eyes and your attention goes directly there, and you can, when that door opens, when Panch Tattva of your body merge with the Panch Tattva of universe, there is a deep connection there. That's when we get samadhi. Then we merge with that one. So that's the, in nutshell, that's what all prana and prana energy are.
Yeah, so that's what they tried to show in that movie Matrix. You know, when you're open to that universal energy, you can download anything in your brain, basically. So that's why they are all experts in languages and anything that they want to do. Has anyone seen that movie Matrix?
I've seen it. My boys keep telling me, Mom, you have to see, you have to see. So when I first started seeing, I said, what you're saying? And then they have to explain it to me, a lot of things that what snares with me. Then I said, okay, maybe they have taken, it's like a Hollywood version of one of the principles of Vedanta, basically. But they have done a lot of embellishment and a lot of craziness is there in it. A lot of violence is there too. So, but that was very good, Kamlaji. Thank you very much. One thing, like it's going to come in the next verse of Bhagavad Gita, that it says all these yagnas, they're going to purify your mind. So, when Krishna Bhagavan talks about pranayam, he puts it in that category. So it is one of the tools.
Yes.
But we should not misunderstand that just by doing pranayam you will you have to do all the other things. But it is a very powerful aid for sure, because it's like we were talking about, like Kamlaji was explaining, when our emotions are all messed up, we cannot, even worldly things we cannot achieve, forget about Bhagwan. So this definitely helps. And I know it has helped me in my life, doing, especially the Anulom Vilom is a very powerful technique. I think
besides physical benefits, there are lots of physical benefits, because each chakra controls each system.
Right, exactly.
So when that system opens up, all the disease are gone too. Right. So there are different pranayams for different system also. So
that has become more popular now. What you are saying is more popular. People are, they take the crowd, hey, you can who doesn't want to feel better? But for the spiritual sadhak, you focus on the spirituality, your body gets balanced. And that's why balancing start happening in your body. You know, somebody like Ramdev Baba, he can reverse the cancer also. So
Yeah.
like one lady, you know, there was a lady in Houston, she would say, वो ऐਵੇਂ ही बोलता है कि ऐसे कैसे कैंसर ठीक हो जाएगा. मैंने बोला, if you do everything that he's telling you to do, I can guarantee you can reverse the cancer. Because he only doesn't talk about बैठ के प्राणायाम करो. He said, you know, अध्यात्म में रहो, you know, अच्छा खाओ पियो, you know, respect your parents, do this, do that. All of that you do, definitely reverse होगा. But करना चाहिए पड़ेगा ना, कौन करेगा इतना सब कुछ. तो खाली बैठ के प्राणायाम से भी नहीं होएगा. You got to do holistic thing. You know? That's how you have to approach these subjects. You don't take it lopsided. You take it all together, everything, and have it in the correct context.
Like when I went to Yogram first time, they told me to keep fast for 8 days. I never did it. I was so much careful about my food that I don't skip a meal. Every time I have to have food. And when they said you have to keep fast for 8 days, they asked me for 30 days. And I said, are you crazy? I don't want to die. I have to raise my kids still. They are not even married yet. And then they said, okay, what about 8 days? And I said, I cannot skip a meal. How can I keep? And it was beyond my imagination. And then I said, okay, let me try and let me see whether I can do it or not. And the way I did, I could not believe it. Like I could do yoga every day in the morning and evening, and I could do all the activities which were being offered there. And I didn't feel lack of energy at all. And I lost all extra weight. All the toxins are gone. After that, when I came back, I couldn't do it for several years. And then I slowly started. I said, no, I could do before, so I can do now. But every time I do, I reach to another level. I was telling in my yoga class today that this time I felt the best of all other times. 9 days without eating, you don't even feel. I started feeling, why do we need food? the whole thing is about this food everywhere. Now I don't have to worry about digesting, cleaning, nothing, Yana. But it brings your subtle energies up. When I did Shankprakshalan and after that I ate steamed vegetables, they never tasted that sweet before. Because my taste buds, they became more finer.
Yeah, they became more sattvic, for sure.
So all these things, they bring slowly and slowly, they bring you to that level. Whether we do Karam Yoga with that balance of mind, with whether we do Bhakti Yoga, we are just involved there. When we are doing Bhakti Yoga or Jnana Yoga, our energy is up here already. And in SRF, they focus on this, that when you are reading scriptures, you read one paragraph and then close your eyes and meditate. Then you can get the in-depth meaning of it. So this is all about balancing your thoughts and emotions and energies. Okay.
When you're eating less, Kamla, then what you're doing is you're actually resting your prana energy in your digestive system also. And also you're giving space for things to move around. You know? So that's why then you feel, more better, more energized and everything.
So my husband says that in scientific community, they call it caloric restriction. So even that is it's a very scientific fact, but because of all the reasons that you guys gave, कोई मशीन है, उसको तुम 24 घंटे चलाओ तो वो मशीन थोड़ी तो गड़बड़ करेगी ना, उसको रेस्ट देना पड़ता है ना. So this is not eating is giving it a rest. There are several ways to look at it, and even like in the research they found that people who regularly do vrat, जो हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, once a week and things like that, बहुत health benefit है. stays younger, you stay healthy, a lot of diseases go away. But in America, there's so much focus on food that it is just great. When my boys were born, in India में कैसे बोलते हैं, वो मेरा बच्चा खा नहीं रहा है और ठूस ठूस के खिलाने की आदत होती है, right? So, but my pediatrician told me, I was kind of new in the country, I had been only a few years. He said, my dear, do you know in this country, people die of overeating? Nobody dies of hunger. And I just looked at her funny. And that is so true, Food is like so much available here, it is just people die of overeating. So, going back to our old traditions, they have a lot of value.
So, Kamala ji, I had a question for you. So, when you say that you were fasting, did that mean that for 9 days you did not eat or drink anything at all?
Nothing at all, except honey and lemon water.
Honey and lemon water. No,
Yeah.
nothing else to eat or drink.
Nothing at all. Nothing.
यहाँ पर ये जैन बैठे हुए हैं तो they do it 40 days. जैन में होता है, पूछो इनको.
आप बताइए प्लीज, अनिल जी और आशा जी प्लीज बताइए.
नहीं, मतलब कि this is very scientific. Right now, if you go on YouTube, there are many studies about fasting, where people started fasting from 3 days, then went on to fast for 22 days, 31 days, and how so many of the diseases just disappeared. Because
how do you get the energy? I mean, I'm thinking that I fast on Karwa Chauth, and at the end of the day, I am like drained. I am done for. I am like, कब चांद निकलेगा, कब खाने को मिलेगा. It's like that.
थोड़ा train करना पड़ता है सबको.
The body gets used to it, and actually you're getting energy from the lemon water, and also you take little pepper and honey. Honey is a good source of energy.
No pepper, please.
No, master cleanser, they say black pepper or red chili if you want.
Actually, there is a scientist, Japanese scientist, I forget his name, and I'm forgetting the name of the technique he developed, where he shows that after 16 hours of not eating, how your body starts to metabolize all the waste in your body.
Yeah.
So it's detoxing the body from 16 hours on, and when you go to 32 hours, then all the bad cells in your body are totally consumed and regenerates new cells. So new stem cells, everything. So the body renews itself. It starts renewing itself after 24 hours. And if you can go to a week or 2 weeks, you can come out with losing a lot of diseases. So it's a very, very healthy thing to do.
One thing I want to caution everybody is that if you want to take up this, you have to do it under somebody's guidance.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you cannot start because it's a training and it has to be done correctly, and you don't want to get sick and all that, because when we are not used to it, it's like, oh, I want to learn swimming, and then you straight jump in the water without knowing swimming, you will drown. So just
No, you are exactly right, because there are some if you are on medications and you have to take the medication with food, and here you are starving yourself and taking the medication, it could become poison for you.
yes.
So
And Meeraji's answer, in Karwa Chauth Vrat, we restrict water also. We don't drink water too until 4 o'clock in the evening. We drink some shikanji or something.
Yes.
And then we restrict on water also whole day. So there is another scientific thing for that. In our olden system, every Ekadashi there was a vrat, Nirjala vrat, that you don't drink any water on that day. And because if your cells, cancer cells, they don't get water, they die. So that's another way to keep the cancer away. That if you keep fast, Nirjala fast for 10 to 12 hours, you don't drink, not night not included. During daytime, if you don't drink 10 to 12 hours completely and then start drinking, then your cancer cells die in the body. But it doesn't mean that you start doing every third day. No, it's done every 15 days, and then you come to the regular drinking water, like two gallons of water every day.
I know, but when I was younger, it was easier, and now I find that when I'm fasting in the afternoon, I get severe headaches also. So I don't know. I mean, if it is psychological or what.
No, those because we so many nadis start blocking as we get older. 72,000 नाड़ियों में से कितनी नाड़ियां हमें मेजर अटैक या मेजर डायबिटीज या मेजर प्रॉब्लम तब आती है जब उससे कनेक्टिंग सारी नाड़ियां बंद हो चुकी होती हैं. पहले बॉडी कोशिश करती है कि उनके थ्रू काम करने की, बट जब अदर सब असिस्टेंस खत्म हो जाती है उसके बाद मेजर अटैक होता है हार्ट पे कि भाई ब्लॉकेज कंप्लीट